Okay. Well, I want to welcome everybody to the regular board meeting of the Cameron Park Community Services District Board of Directors. It's Wednesday, June 23, 2021. We're beginning our meeting at 6:30 p.m. And Jen, if you would do, 6:32 p.m. Jen, would you do me a favor and call roll call for attendance?
Director Eiston,
Here.
Director Carlson,
Here.
Director Bazette,
Here.
Director Scobie,
Here.
and Director Wooten.
Here.
Thank you, Jen. Kind of threw that at you. Appreciate you doing that. The general manager is out of town, but we have everybody here. We need to do this. So I appreciate everybody's coming tonight. Next part is the Pledge of Allegiance. And Director Bazette, would you lead us in that tonight, please?
Of course. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, moving through our agenda. Just a reminder that public testimony will be received on each agenda item as it is called. Multiple parties on each side of an issue are allocated 10 minutes to speak. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes, except with consent of the board. Individuals shall be allowed to speak on an item only once. Members of the audience are asked to volunteer their name before addressing the board, and the board reserves the right to waive said rules by a majority vote. So with that, we move to the adoption of tonight's agenda. I'll put this out to the board of directors or public who's here. If there's any additions, deletions, corrections, or would somebody would like to make a motion regarding tonight's agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda. It's Felicity Carlson.
Thank you, Director Carlson. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Director Bazette. Jen, would you do me a favor and please call roll call on that vote?
I'm not sure how to do this part.
No, that's right. It's the same thing as we just did roll call for attendance.
Okay. Director Eiston,
Aye.
Director Carlson,
Aye.
Director Bazette,
Aye.
Director Scobie,
Aye.
Director Wooten.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll probably have one more time that I'll need you to do that. And it's just the same thing.
Okay.
Just call us out and we'll vote yay, nay, or abstain.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, we have no recognitions or presentations tonight. So with that, we will move to open forum for non-agenda items. This is where members of the public may speak on any item not on the agenda that falls within the jurisdiction of the board of directors. So at this point, I will open it up for open forum. If any members of the public are present would like to speak, please raise your hand. We'll call on you. You have 3 minutes to address the board. I do see one hand. It looks the name Paul there. I'm guessing that's Paul Gilchrist. If you could unmute him. Are you there, Paul?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Hey, so thank you. I'll just go ahead and start now. I may run a few seconds over 3 minutes, and I hope the board will allow that. Recently, many residents living within and near the Pine Hill Preserve in Shingle Springs have been inquiring about the vegetation management work being performed close to Many Oaks Lane. I'm addressing the board as the elected representative of Division 5, Shingle Springs, El Dorado County Fire. The purpose of this letter is to request the board to direct staff to prepare and participate in a community forum/workshop. The goal being to inform stakeholders within the Division 5 as to the plan, progress, and status of the work being performed in the Pine Hill Preserve. It is understood the current work is a collaborative effort and part of a larger multi-year effort to create defensible space around the Pine Hill Preserve. As reported in the Mountain Democrat, the CSD received $366,000 in a fire prevention grant. Of this, $250,000 is being used to construct fuel breaks surrounding the Pine Hill Preserve, widening ingress and egresses on 5 miles of roadways in the Pine Hill Preserve area. It is understood the current efforts are primarily being coordinated by Cameron Park Community Service District funding it, Cameron Park Fire Resource Coordinator, Bureau of Land Management, primary landowner. Knowing this is a multi-agency effort, It's unclear as to who is on point to communicate with the various stakeholders as to the plan, progress, and status of the work being performed. Specifically, the fire service, local districts, the public, as well as elected officials must be informed. Doing so will ensure questions are answered with facts, misinformation is not propagated, and rumors are stopped. Public safety is too important and requires clear communication. A few examples of questions and information I've received, while some of this is not entirely accurate, include all monies have been spent, work is sporadic at best, as piles have been left behind, fire hazards increase, roadways are being blocked with cut vegetation. And I've received some photos on this as well. It would be rational and appropriate to perform targeted outreach communications with the various stakeholders in the area. Below are the suggested stakeholders and some comments about local fire safe council. We all know wildfire does not care about federal, state, or local boundaries. All it does is burn. Let's remove the titles and boundaries and communicate effectively with those people we owe a duty to serve in the area. To facilitate effective, proactive, and collaborative communications with all stakeholders, I'm offering to host a workshop in Shingle Springs where Cameron Park CSD, Bureau of Land Management, and CAL FIRE can meet to talk with the stakeholders. The Shingle Springs Community Center has been made available. I'll close as I've started. I'm requesting the Cameron Park Community Service District to direct staff to prepare and participate in a community forum and workshop. The goal will be to inform residents within Division 5 as to the plan, progress, and status of the work being performed. I've received new, and this is not, and I'll present this in a letter to the board. I've received many phone calls. I've talked with our chief at our district, and I believe Tim is on the call. The communications is, we haven't received a formal communication as to this discrete effort that's going on. And I don't believe it's El Dorado County Fire's responsibility to communicate on behalf of Cameron Park CSD, Bureau of Land Management, or CAL FIRE as to the work being performed. So again, I would request that the board directed staff to participate in this community forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And yes, I appreciate you if you would kindly forward a copy of that letter. If we were meeting in person, I know we could receive that physical version of that, but if you could forward that, that'd be great. And
Yes, I'll do that, and I'll send it from my El Dorado County Fire email address. Thanks.
thank you very much. We'll give that to staff and we'll talk with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are still in open forum. I see there are a couple of other people, attendees tonight. If you would like to speak at this time in open forum, please raise your hand so that we can acknowledge you and unmute you, and you can speak at this point. And if for some reason you're having trouble finding that, feel free to click on the chat and let us know so we can direct you on that. Okay, seeing no hands or no direction, we will go ahead and close open forum at this point. All right, and with that, then we will move on to our general business tonight. We have one item on our agenda. Item number 4. Director Wooten, do you have a question?
Yes, I do, Dr. Aston. I have something I want to discuss in open forum. Would I be able to do that?
That would go in matters to and from, which is not agendized tonight. We do not have.
It has to do with Cameron Park Lake.
That would have to be in a spot. The open forum is for public, not for board members, and we do not have an agendized
Thank you.
item. If that would have been something we could have added when we did agenda and approved it earlier, we could have done matters
Well,
to.
it's kind of important. It's Ponte Palermo. Okay.
If there's something there, go ahead and we can talk afterwards, or we can communicate with staff if there's something going on.
Very fine.
You and I can stay after and we can talk. Okay. Thank you, dear. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to our general business item. This is number 4. This is the public hearing to approve resolution. Sorry, just lost it on my screen here. Apologize. To approve resolution 2021-20, to exercise the Board of Directors' statutory authority to abate rubbish and weeds and collect costs on properties on which said rubbish and weeds constitute a public nuisance. So with that, Chief Morantz, I believe you have a presentation for us.
I have a handful of slides, and I know I'm going to need some help sharing my screen.
No problem.
Jennifer
And
can help me.
And so that the board and members of the public know how this will go, we'll go ahead and, because this is a public hearing, we will formally open that after the presentation, at which point members of the public can speak to this piece or anybody who's come to speak to it tonight. And then after that, the board can discuss. So go ahead and let's do your presentation. And Jen, are you able to allow her to share screen then?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
trying to find who can share. It says all panelists. So I don't know if you have the ability now to go ahead and do that. Let me see.
Sure, you should see a green share screen at the bottom.
Yes.
There you go.
Do you see that?
Yes,
We do see it.
good job.
What? I just followed the instructions. It worked. Okay. There we go. Oops. Okay, so like I said, it's just a handful of slides to share some information with you on the 3 parcels that we abated this year. So there's the 2 parcel numbers, and these are the 2 parcels on Greenwood that were abated. One is 0.74 acres and the other is 0.76 acres, and they are owned by the same person. Per the CSD's weed abatement ordinance, unimproved parcels less than 2 acres shall have all hazardous vegetation mowed and cut to a maximum height of 4 inches. It should be noted that this property here butts right up against Miss Lisa's Montessori school, and the playground is right next to the property there. So it was pretty, had a lot of vegetation on it. These are the after pics from the same angle, and you'll see that now it goes by the ordinance. So they went in there and took out all that vegetation. And that's like I said, it's 2 different parcels owned by the same person. And then the 3rd parcel that we abated is at the end of Coach Lane. It's 0.77 acres. It's located next to the Motel 6, and it had just a large amount of garbage, used needles, brush, grass. It was a mess. And they went in there, and you'll see here on the after pictures what they did there. A great job. And they actually kind of went above and beyond what they initially bid on it, and they stuck to that price. They've been a good vendor, but they had to bring in some special equipment to remove as hazardous materials when you're talking needles and all the things that they found out there. It was pretty gross. So that was the 3rd parcel. And then we got a wrap up on the cost. The two parcels that were owned by the same person, the abatement costs were $750 each, and then that 3rd parcel was $1,000 for a total of $2,500. And then in your board packet, you'll see there's a document that has the actual abatement cost plus all of the administrative costs. So the first 2 parcels, that's $750, so it was a total of $1,500 to abate, and then with the additional costs in there, it came to a total of $2,227.90. And the 3rd parcel, $1,000 to abate, and then with the administrative fees, it came to $1,727.90. And that is what I have for you.
Wow.
Any questions?
Questions from the board before we open the public hearing and move to public
The
comment?
3rd parcel, isn't that privately owned, and they have a group of folks living there?
So it's owned by, no, it's a vacant parcel, but it's owned by an LLC, and the address is actually out of Placerville. They received a letter in April, the letter in, May, and then the 3rd letter with all the costs, and they have not responded. And this is typical of properties that we abate, the landowners just do not respond to the call to our attempts to get a hold of them. And so, yeah, that's what we have. We sent them and we decided to abate, and it really cleaned it up.
Is there not a homeless place over there that we can't touch?
On the other side, at the end of Coach, if you remember last year and the year before, we had a couple little fires that were started by homeless people. They lit a couch on fire, and yes, they move all around out there. But I think helping to remove this vegetation and cleaning it up is going to it gives them less. It will kind of help prevent them from being in there, I guess.
Thank you, Chief Morenz.
Chief Morenz, could you briefly describe the time frame on this and the steps that were taken before you reached this point?
Yes, so in April, so the first week in April, our folks go out and they will do all the inspections. And because May 1st is actually when they're supposed to be abated, everything's done. So the first week in April, our staff goes out and does the inspections, and anyone who does not comply with the ordinance, they receive a notice of non-compliance. So it's just letting them know you're not compliant, and this is why. The second inspections happen like the first week in May. And if they have not complied, that's when the abatement process starts. They get a letter saying a hazardous abatement notice that if you don't abate by June 1st, we will abate your property. And so they receive that letter. And then after June 1st, if they have not abated the property, we get the contractors. We've already got the bids and everything. The contractors go to work because we're on a real tight timeline to get this done, to get this information to the county to do the lien process by August 10th. So that's the process, and it's continual. The last letter they got was certified, which we don't have to do, but we do it just to kind of make sure that we're making sure they get it. So yeah, so they've had 3 letters.
Okay.
And then they know about, they received the letter 15 days prior to today, letting them know about the hearing. They let them, this is their chance to come and provide information as to why they maybe hadn't complied. And so they have everything.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions from any of the members of the board?
Yes, Felicity, it's not really a question, but I just want to say this is so important, and I'm so grateful that you did this. And that's my son's preschool that's right next door.
wow.
And then, we have other really important Cameron Park businesses like Joe's Coffee, that those 2 lots are not far from the highway, which is always a risk of spark. I mean, it's really close to the CSD. It's close to our own government building. And as for the second parcel, again, there's been a lot of homeless activity, as we know. It's even closer to the highway. And these are just super high risk areas. So I'm just really grateful that for this small amount of money that risk has been mitigated in those critical areas. So thank you for doing the risk analysis and proceeding with that.
Awesome.
I have a comment. This is Monique. Yeah, I am really happy you guys found the resources to actually be able to do this during COVID. Was there any other opportunities to do any additional, or is this pretty much maxed out our resources to get these 3 parcels completed?
Well, our budget was cut at mid-year from 30,000 to 2,500. So I think that was the deal, is that we had, I think initially it was that we weren't going to do anything, and we had that discussion that, hey, we need to do something. So I'm going to give kudos to Jessica Garrison, who has coordinated this and worked with the contractors, and they made the most. I mean, literally, like I said, that 3rd lot was, it should have cost a lot more than that. And so it was more about the relationship we have with them. And so she was able to get this much work done for $2,500.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you. And I think the consistency of us, of our fire department, following through every year. And, you do see more compliance on areas. I know, you can see some of the vacant lots. They're being maintained now where they weren't in the past. So I really appreciate that being done, because I do think we have a little teeth here, and I appreciate that our whole community appreciates it. So that's.
And I just want to add that, it's our 3rd year doing it. And something that we had talked about, I know Chief Gaines and Jessica and I about, is that we send letters out to not just the 3 lots. We send it out because nobody's going to know who's going to get abated. And I'm telling you what, it is working, because people are out there like right now. I mean, they're continually calling Jessica going, hey, can we have more time? You know, we're working on it. And so it has made a big difference. And so it's just important to maintain this.
Yes, I would agree, Dr. Scobie. I think as we drive around town the last couple of years, we can see not just more happening, but more consistently. People are really giving their energies to take care of this. All right, any other questions, comments from the board before I open up the public hearing? Okay.
I want to make a quick comment. If you guys noticed too, we got the 10-acre piece behind Bel Air cleaned up between Bel Air and Highway 50. It looks great back there. So we finally got that, the landowner of that parcel back there done. And if you get a chance, if you heading east or heading westbound and you get off there at Cameron Park Drive, you can look down in there and it looks really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, so with that, we will go ahead and officially open the public hearing regarding resolution number 2021-20 to exercise the board of directors' statutory authority to abate rubbish and weeds and collect costs on properties on which said rubbish and weeds constitute a public nuisance. All the information is in tonight's agenda for anybody in attendance who has wanted to see that. So at this point, we'll open the public hearing and open it for public comment. Anybody who'd like to address the board or speak to any of these. I see a hand. Jen, if you could unmute Paul.
Thank you. And hi. Also, I just wanted to let you know that I have heard from many of the residents about the clearings that have been done off of Meter Road, for instance. And I've also communicated as best of my ability the abatement work that has been going on. It is appreciated and being well received in the areas that we can communicate effectively on. So Chief Morantz and Chief Gaines, thank you for the work that you guys have been doing in those areas.
Thank you, Paul. All right. Anybody else in the public who would like to speak to this? Okay, seeing no hands, we will officially then close the public hearing for resolution 2021-20 and bring this back to the board. Our steps tonight on this were to receive and consider the report, which we have done. We have opened and closed the public hearing. And now it is our task to act on this to potentially confirm the report by approving the resolution. So to my fellow directors, are there any other questions or comments regarding this? Or would somebody like to make a motion?
I move that we approve resolution 2021-20 of the Cameron Park Community Service District to exercise its authority to abate rubbish and weeds and collect costs on properties in which said rubbish and weeds constitute a public nuisance.
Director Bazette, before we go to the second, would you like to have that resolution read, or would you like to waive the reading of the resolution in your motion?
I waive the reading of the resolution in entirety.
Okay.
I would like to second his motion.
Okay, so we have a first from Director Bazette to approve the resolution with the waiving the reading of the full resolution, and a second by Director Wooten. So Jen, if I could ask you one more time, if you would do a roll call vote to approve this resolution, please.
Director Easton,
Aye.
Director Carlson,
Aye.
Director Bazette,
Aye.
Director Scobie,
Aye.
Director Wooten.
Aye.
All right, we have a 5-0 vote to approve the resolution 2021-20. Thank you all for your work on this, especially to our fire partners. Appreciate your ongoing efforts in this. It is making a difference. It really is. So thank you. All right, so with that, we have come to the end of our agenda business for tonight. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, I'll save the roll call vote. I'll do it myself. Director Aston, aye. Director Carlson,
Aye.
Director Scobie,
Aye.
Director Wooten,
Aye.
Director Bazat.
Aye.
All right, so we are adjourning at 6:57 p.m. Thank you all for your good work tonight. Jen, you can go and stop the recording at this point.